Thank you. I'm going to go first since I look much older now than I did 10 years ago. It's great to be with you today. It's great to spend some time with you. We're going to talk about that part of Bastian's presentation that said connect. We've got to provide you with technology that connects things today. In reality, if all I do is provide you with technology that connects things, you are never going to become the digital business you crave to be, and we're not going to deliver the value to you we need to deliver to allow you to become that digital business. So we're very focused on talking about change. You maybe heard me mention yesterday. But at Cisco, we are tremendously focused on how we drive change in our organization. And for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been investing significantly around software to help us drive that change. Because actually we believe networking has not really changed a lot in the last 30 years. And that's shame on us. That's shame on us because every other industry is embracing change and embracing software to drive fundamental changes in the way their businesses operate. They're thinking differently, they're interacting with customers differently, and here's us speaking to the IT departments of our customers, and we're telling them to operate the same way as they've operated for 30 years. Shame on every networking vendor on the planet. Time's changing. The world is changing, Cisco's changing, and the opportunity for you and us together is absolutely changing. We have to embrace software in new ways, just in the same way as every other industry has embraced the change. The ability for you to communicate with people, software has changed the game for you there. It's no longer about posting a letter. And at the same time, software has become so intuitive that actually software probably knows more about you and me than our partners know about each of us. But then when you look at software and you say, how is software achieving this? Software is achieving this because software is not doing one thing. Software is doing many things at the same time. It's becoming multi-purpose. The software we provided in our networking equipment for the last 30 years has done one thing. It's provided you with connectivity. Now, we would suggest that the connectivity we provide is better than our competitors. It's more reliable, it's more secure, it's more scalable. But at the end of the day, it's done one thing. It's provided you with connectivity. Building software that does one thing for you is not going to change the game in the future. We need to deliver software that does many things if we're going to change the game for you. And hopefully Dumb and Dumber will show you that as we go through the presentation today. Look at this example. On the left-hand side, you see software that does one thing. It's a taxi meter. It tells you how much the taxi driver is going to charge you. Look on the right-hand side. The phone still tells the taxi driver how much he's going to charge you, but it also tells him how to get there. It also allows you to rate how good the journey was. It allows you to actually tell the taxi to come to you, as opposed to you wait on the taxi. You can book the taxi. This is the power of what multi-purpose software can deliver. The phone is no longer about doing one thing. The phone has moved us from a world of connectivity to a world of productivity, because the phone does so many different multi-purpose activities for us every minute of the day. And when you read a book, we all thought the world was going to change because the Kindle would come along and paperbacks would disappear and we'd use this device to read a book. It was single-purpose software. It didn't change the game for you or me. But now we're listening to books, and we're using that multi-purpose piece of software to change the game. So I mentioned earlier on, we've done one thing for the last 30 years. We've built software connectivity. We've made sure it's reliable, we've made sure it's secure, we've made sure it's available. And we've done it better than any other networking vendor on the planet, if I'm allowed to say that. But where all of our investment has been going over the last 4.5 years is investing in a software layer for our portfolio. Investing in a software layer that does multiple things. Now, some people call this a software overlay network, some people call it a software-defined network. But it's interesting, there's loads of new vendors in this space, and all of them are trying to automate your network. They're coming to you and saying, we can automate your network and reduce your manual overheads and make the network more agile. It's interesting, because all of these software-defined players in the market space are trying to do one thing. They're trying to provide automation. I would suggest to you that no vendor who looks to do one thing with software is going to deliver the outcomes you need in your business moving forward. And actually, where Cisco has been investing as an organization in that software layer is actually about really doing 3 things. We look fundamentally at our ability to analyze everything that's happening on the network, and we're investing massively in analytical data. As a networking vendor, we're not trying to be an analytics company, but we've spent in the last 3 years over $5.5 billion on analytical capability in our organization. We've bought organizations like AppD, Cognitive, Landcope. We've developed internal technologies like titration and network assurance engine, all because we believe that fundamentally for you to do your job better running businesses, you need better access to instantaneous information around what's happening on your network. Do you want to be the organization that has to say to the world, 3 weeks ago, our network was corrupted. Three weeks ago, people stole data from our network. You need to be in a place where you know instantaneously if that risk is there. And ultimately, you need to rely on having instantaneous access to data to be able to run your network in a digital world the way you want. And it's that access to information that's ultimately going to allow you to drive better behaviors, better compliance processes through your network and make it more secure. I met a customer recently who said to me, Gordon, my biggest problem is we have salespeople leaving our organization and going to the competitors. I don't know if you have that problem. We have that problem at times too. He says the problem is when they come and hand in their resignation, they've already taken all of the company's intellectual property. They've already downloaded it onto a stick on their computer, put it in their pocket, and they've taken all the information away with them. Well, do you know what? The network should be intelligent enough to recognize that if I was going and downloading loads of information from sites I'd not been to in a long time, that there was probably a problem, that we should probably stop Gordon doing that. And ultimately, we need to be able to get to a point where the network is intelligent enough to be able to help you work every day more effectively. And that's ultimately exactly the sorts of things we're trying to do for you moving forward. Finally, I want to be able to say that this network can't operate in isolation from your business applications. All of the business applications that you're creating every day need to be connected back into the network so that they can work seamlessly together. No matter what that application is, it will work better if it can understand how it can interact with the network. And we're very focused at that middle layer, that software layer, giving open APIs to allow you to create and build applications, or indeed take your existing applications and connect them into the network. This is really where we're moving to. We're trying to move to a place where we deliver you value beyond connectivity and ultimately then deliver you value beyond the network. And this is our strategy as an organization. But why should we do that? And why should we make the decision to change? And why should all of you think about how important it is just to have to do more than deliver connectivity into your business? I'd like to give you a couple of examples, if I may, as to why. Here's a bank and a retailer. Look at the number of IT staff they have, and then the number of devices in the network they have. And if you divide the number of devices by the number of IT employees, you can see how many employees they have, how many IT employees they have, divided by the number of devices in their network. So you can see the bank has about 105 devices per member of IT, and the retailer has 216. The bank, being much more regulated, means they have to have more IT professionals to manage their environment. But when we look at all businesses across EMEA, large and small, on average, we think there's about 200 devices connected to the network for every member of IT. You should do it for your own business and see what it looks like. Here's the challenge, because I believe 1 to 200 is challenging enough today, but 1 to 200 could be 1 to 10,000 in 5 or 10 years' time. And that means there's going to have to be a fundamental shift in terms of how we manage networks in the future. Let me give you an example. All of your employees are going to want you to provide as seamless an experience for them as possible. Make their life frictionless. And let me give you an example about when you walk into a telepresence meeting or a video meeting. So if Gordon was to walk into the room, if I was to walk into the room today, the network could possibly know that I've walked into the room. It would know because I've got my mobile phone, and the mobile phone associates with the wireless network. The wireless network recognizes it's my mobile phone, and it says, hey, Gordon's in the room. Now, that's all our networking equipment does today, okay? But imagine our networking equipment would then speak to our video systems. And it would speak to the video systems and say to the video systems, hey, why don't you turn on your camera and use facial recognition technology in your camera and just double check that that is actually Gordon that's walked in the room. And they turn the facial recognition technology on in the camera in an automatic way, and guess what? This young, handsome Scottishman is absolutely that person you see, and they know it's Gordon Thompson that's walked in the room. We don't stop there, however. We then pass that information to other business applications. We pass it to Microsoft and we say, any idea why Gordon's walked in the room? And they say, well, Gordon's calendar says he's got a meeting starting with Wendy in 2 minutes. And they say, okay, well, we can start that meeting automatically for Gordon. Well, since he's meeting Wendy, why don't we make sure they get really high quality bandwidth so that the video connection is fantastic and the network automatically sets up the bandwidth to make that video experience phenomenal. And then, since Gordon doesn't want to go into the meeting only himself with Wendy, he brings along 2 colleagues with him just to make sure he's going to be in a safe environment. Sorry, Wendy. And we can then start to pass that information to other applications in the business. We can pass it to the facilities system and say, Gordon's got 3 people in the room, is that okay? And the facilities system will say, well, he booked a room for 12 people. Why has he booked a room for 12 people when there's only 3 people there? And they then start to check my behaviour, and they recognise that Gordon always books rooms that are too big for the amount of people that are in it. We need to change his behaviour. And we start to save facilities costs. And you can go on and on and on along those same sorts of lines to see how we can really drive value. The meeting finishes and all the lights go off themselves, the unit switches off itself. The main reason I see this is, in the existing world today, our IT department only care about, is the video unit working? They only care about, is the bandwidth between the sites okay? They only care about, can my laptop share information? 3 things. In this new world, to provide me with this fantastic experience, IT are going to have to care about 50 things, 100 things, if you're truly going to deliver a digital experience for your employee. And the reality then is, it won't be that 1 to 200, it may be that 1 to 10,000. And if it is that 1 to 10,000, and you don't change the way you operate, it's going to have a massive impact on the number of IT staff the organisation would need. That bank had 8,000 IT staff. In this new world, they would need another 47,000 IT staff. That retailer had 2,800 IT staff. In this new world, they need another 19,000. I say that why? I say that because today we need to recognise that humans are no longer going to be able to have the scale to be able to deliver the requirements we need to manage networks in the future. And we have to start to recognize that networks will become autonomic. They will run themselves. And we have to embrace that as we move forward. And the only way they can run themselves is if they have enough knowledge to be able to then turn that knowledge into creating actions and creating intent onto the network so that we can run it effectively. So when you speak to CIOs today and you say to them, we're going to build a self-driving network, they get horrified. Oh no, somebody will always run my network. Of course they will. But there will be parts of everybody's network over time that will need to become autonomic because you will just not be able to scale at the pace you need to. And at the heart of your ability to do that is not how quickly you can automate things onto the network. It's about how quickly you can learn from what's going on in the network so that you can automate the right things. And this is at the heart of our multi-purpose software strategy, not just driving automation onto your environment, but learning from it so that we can make this network far more intelligent. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that not by building products for you. We're not going to build solutions for you. We're actually going to build platforms for you in terms of how we do that. And the recognition is we're not the first to build platforms. Many other vendors out there have been very successfully building software platforms for years and years and years. So we're just copying other people. You know, 8 years ago I bought an iPhone because it was the best mobile phone in the market. Today I buy an iPhone not because it's the best mobile phone in the market. It probably isn't. I buy it because of the platform that Apple have created. They've created a sticky, seamless ecosystem for me to be able to use many, many different applications. They've made it intuitive. They've made it easy for me to connect with my family and everybody I want to work with. They've built a platform. They've built something that delivers a consistent experience, is intuitive, and embraces an ecosystem. And if you look at networking over the last 30 years, it definitely hasn't done that. So our job now is absolutely to build those capabilities. The good news is, for the last 4.5 years, that's exactly what Cisco have been doing with our portfolio. For the last 4.5 years, we've been focused on doing 3 key things with everything we do to build out this platform. Number one, we've been focused on user experience. Can we deliver the same consistent user experience to all of our products? Sounds pretty simple, but it's not easy to achieve, but we're on this journey to do that today. Can Cisco build an open architecture? Can we come out with products that say to you, you don't have to buy everything from us to make this stuff work together? And finally, can we make them really simple and intuitive and easy to use? Well, this is at the heart of everything we're doing. And this is what we need to do if you're going to solve the business challenges that you have as an organization moving forward. When we look at the business challenges for small and medium businesses today, the key 4 challenges that we see from a technology point of view are the 4 bubbles you see at the bottom here. How do I deal with all of the mobile devices that people want to connect to my environment and make them more productive? How do I deal with IoT devices that potentially we can connect to our network now and allow us to become far more intuitive and autonomic? All of my applications no longer sit in the data center, they sit in the cloud, and how can I manage that and make sure it's secure? And finally, how do I deal with security and all of these things? These 4 massive technology transitions that are ongoing today, mobility, security, IoT, and cloud, it's unprecedented that we have this amount of technology transition happening. And at the same time, you have the business saying, we need to move faster, we need to become more digital. And the two don't work hand in hand, unfortunately, because the complexity that both create means we have a problem. And to solve that problem, fundamentally, we need to get to a point now where we can build platforms for you, which are based on multi-purpose software, as opposed to build products for you that were based on single-purpose software that only provided connectivity. So, what I'd like to do is try and show you how potentially we can solve all 4 of these challenges for you by using multi-purpose software as a platform as opposed to using products. So to help me do that, I was obviously introduced as dumb earlier on. I'm going to introduce dumber onto stage now. Sometimes it's really important to show you that everything we do is simple and intuitive. So we had to scour Cisco and Meraki as wide as we could to find the dumbest person at Cisco so that we could show you how easy it is to manage all of that. But unfortunately, he hasn't changed in 10 years, whereas I have. He still looks as good as he did back then. Andy, why don't you join us on stage?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon, for those very warm but somewhat career-limiting welcome. So, yeah, why don't you fire in? Because I think the first one we're going to cover off is security.
It is. Well, I'll cover that off while you get set up and ready
Brilliant.
to go. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's cover off security. Remember I said at the start, there's no point in us really being able, we can't really do anything more effective for you unless we can start to pull more and more data from your environment. And in the security world up until now, most people have looked to find the best product in every part of the security networking area and buy that product. And then connect that product to every other product from many, many different vendors. The problem with that approach is you can't take data from multiple different vendors, associate all that data together to start to deliver, information back in terms of what's going on in your environment. All they can do is solve in their specific silo. So where the world needs to move to is a world that we are seeing is a secure AI-driven platform-based approach. Okay, so here's 3 customers. Okay, here's a customer that is underinvested in security. So although they've bought some security products for their business, they actually haven't invested enough. The middle one is the environment I just explained a minute or two ago, where they have invested enough in security, they've just bought it with individual products that actually don't work together or fit together. And the third one is where the customer has invested in products that can actually talk to each other, share information, and we can start to do something with that information. Well, they all get targeted with the exact same attack. Everyone's attacked by the exact same malware. The way it shows up for the user is different in the top one, but the same in the next 2. In the top one, application starts to fail. The PC may even fail. In the next 2, the user experiences no issue at all. Interesting. It's very interesting then when you look at the impact on IT. On IT, on the top one, IT really begin to panic. They pull everybody in the organization to go and try and solve this problem. They may shut down the network. They may shut down applications. They will do whatever it takes to try and stop that attack. The middle one doesn't actually know what's going on. They know they're seeing things in their network that don't look quite right, but nobody's experiencing any problems. So what they probably do is they probably lock the network in its present state. They probably send some people to investigate and interrogate what's going on until they can be assured that nothing has impacted them. The bottom one's been getting instantaneous data back from all different sorts of devices to recognize that there may have been an attack, but we've managed to mitigate it, we've managed to close it down, and we've managed to deal with it. IT don't need to do anything. And so therefore the business impact is interesting. On the top one, probably the CIOs lost their job, they've paid a ransom to try and get access back to their data. The middle one, although they had no breach, they had no impact on their business, actually had a cost to their business, because for a while they had to slow down, for a while they had to reassign resources to go and look into that problem, and in the bottom one there was no impact at all. So as we move forward trying to provide you with security capabilities in your business, the critical thing is not the feature that we deliver on that security product. The critical thing is the ability for that product to talk to other products and start to assimilate the data back together so you can make real-time decisions in terms of what's going on. We then start to think about where our applications are. We then start to recognize that all of our applications could be sitting anywhere. We recognise that we need to embrace cloud because cloud can make life more simple for us. Cloud can start to allow us to move faster, get better visibility of everything that's going on, and can certainly help us start to control costs in our business more effectively. So Andy, why don't you show us what Meraki can do to really help solve some of those challenges?
Thanks, Gordon. So Gordon's comment about me being dumber and not being the most gifted person around demonstrations is actually quite true. I run the Meraki business for distribution and for partner across the EMEA region, but I do probably 3 of these in a year. There are some guys, that booth at the end where Ben Fallon stood there, they can make this sing. I would like to liken the demonstration you're about to see to some quite poor karaoke, all right? But what it'll show you is that because I'm not doing this all the time, how easy this is. The key thing is, Gordon's talked about cloud. This is a cloud-connected platform. He's talked about simplicity. You'll see the simplicity. Steph, you know, when you were going through your bit earlier, you said everyone puts a Google map up, all right? And it's not about the Google map, it's what's behind it, and hopefully that's what you'll see in a second. All right, so what I would encourage you to do after this is let the guys sing over in the booth, and they'll show you this. We've also got Meraki Go over there. But before I get quickly into the dashboard, quick show of hands from the customers. Who's currently a Meraki customer? Quick show of hands. Excellent. So we've got some prospect opportunities in the room today. And of the partners, how many partners are Meraki partners? Show of hands again. Great. Okay. I reckon by the time you leave, all of you will want to have your hands up. So this is a quick view of the dashboard. You can see here there are already nearly 1.9 million active networks right across the business. Also, I know that we've got mixed sectors. So we've got education that we can see quite quickly. We can go in, look at healthcare. I know we've got Hilton in Turkey in the room. So we've got hospitality and so forth and so forth. So there's a view right through the dashboard. The dashboard is Meraki's secret sauce. If I just move now quickly into what you see. So here's a view of Meraki's San Francisco campus. And this is what Steph was talking about. This is where you start to very easily identify challenges and issues. So in here, I've got a view of every client running across the San Francisco network. Over here, I've got every application that is running across here. So you can see a lot of voice traffic with UDP and so forth. And then just a scan around, I can see, well, actually, it's an unusual amount of YouTube traffic. Now, again, Steph was talking about this and Netflix. So let's have a little drill down. So by clicking once, you can go, well, where is this? Let's have a look. We've got a fair bit of YouTube traffic taking place. Now, this is live data. This is coming from the San Francisco Meraki network. I can quickly click onto YouTube, and I should imagine this is all going to be wallboards. But I go through, and yes, we've got a lot of wallboards, and then I find Jeffrey Shu. What is Jeffrey doing? Let's have a little look on Jeffrey Shu, and quite quickly, within about 3 or 4 clicks, poor old Jeffrey, by the way, I don't know what he does. I pick on him every time I do look at the dashboard. But he is using a lot of YouTube traffic, and by the traffic shaping that we were talking about earlier, we can go in and restrict what Jeffrey does around his usage and when he uses YouTube or Netflix traffic. So within a few clicks, we've now got visibility down from total applications running across that network, right down into an individual who's perhaps spending more time on YouTube than he should. So at that, what I think we'll do now is just hand back to Gordon on the slide, and we'll look into mobility.
Okay, thank you, Andy. So the next thing we want to think about is your users using and connecting to the network on any device at all. And from our point of view, if we want to just jump back into the slides, if that's okay. There we go. Really, we want to focus around 3 key things that we can help achieve for you. We want to make sure their experience is as seamless as possible. So on any device, we want to make sure that they can get connected to the network really easily in an intuitive and easy to do way. We want to make sure that ultimately everything they do is secure. And we want to make sure that you managing that can do it in a really easy way to manage and a simplistic way to manage as well. Because this is really where your productivity comes. Giving people mobile access to your network is where you'll drive productivity. So do you want to show us what we can do there as well, Andy?
Yes, certainly, Gordon. So again, just going back onto the live dashboard, There are many different things in mobility that you'll need to look at as a business, both as a partner and as a customer. I've just brought here and gone straight onto the San Francisco campus, and straight away it's just a point of looking at the second floor in this instance and the access points in that second floor. And again, Steph mentioned, sometimes you just need to find out if there's an issue. Here we've got an amber signal on a particular AP, and I can go straight into that AP and find out what the issue is on that. But there's not a lot of great business value to this, right? You're thinking, well, this is just a bit of IT visibility and management of the particular access points. I can then run a heat map, and I've just run a clock here on the heat map. And if you align this now and think of this in terms of hospitality or for retail, there's extreme value in this. This is showing now footfall over a given period of time, so you're starting to get analytics. This is already built into the platform. Again, this is the value of the platform. This is built into it and comes as standard. Just to deepen that value, I know Purple Wi-Fi was mentioned earlier, but we made an acquisition of July Systems, and I think if we just go back to the slides a second, I think Gordon will just deepen this by talking about DNA spaces.
I think at the heart of this, especially in any customer-based environments, you want to be able to know where your customer is at any point at all, while they're either in your retail environment, in your hospitality environment, or indeed in your corporate environment. And the ability for the mobile phone to associate that user back to their exact location within a meter of their location is going to have significant impact for you in terms of how you operate your business. And that's exactly what DNA Spaces does, either on top of Cisco's classic Catalyst wireless portfolio, or indeed on top of the Meraki portfolio at the same time. Let me just give you one example of why understanding where your customer is at any one point can be critical. Think of an airport. Think of how many times have you been on a plane where the pilot has come on and said to you, "I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but one of the passengers hasn't turned up. Their bag's in the hold, and now we're going to have to go and find their bag in the hold before the plane can take off," and you're delayed at least half an hour. I get that experience far too often, but I'm sure many of you have had that experience too. The whole reason why that experience happened was the airport didn't know where the customer was. The customer had checked in, the customer had gone through security, but we've then lost them. Imagine when that customer went through their mobile check-in, they went through security, and we're then monitoring their movement as they walk around the airport. And the tonneau coil comes out, where is passenger such and such or such and such? They never respond to it, they don't hear it or whatever else. We can now pinpoint exactly that that customer's sitting in McDonald's having a Big Mac and forgotten about their flight. We can go and get them, and we can go and put them on the plane. And think of the benefit and the cost savings that we've just delivered through purely understanding where that customer was. The plane is not delayed. We've not had to worry about, additional baggage handling costs to be able to deal with all of that, purely because we know where the customer is. And you can use that in really any industry at all. Understanding where your customer is critical to your ability to truly engage with them in a digital manner. And that's exactly what DNA Spaces can do for our customers on top of both Meraki and the Cisco Classic environments.
Thanks, Gordon. Just continuing a few things, because when we look at mobility, there are a number of different elements that we have to consider. One is the threat and the management of mobile devices. Gordon mentioned right at the beginning around what we're seeing is a proliferation of mobile devices within each organisation. So if I go into the system manager, remembering that the Meraki platform, a lot of people associate the Meraki platform kind of with two products: cloud managed wireless, cloud managed switching. There are actually 6 different solutions that sit within the platform, all of which have that consistent user experience. Here is Systems Manager. So now here, again, you're looking at device status. This is looking at mobile device management. You can see here policies with most non-compliant devices. Right, screen locks. So these are devices without screen locks on them. We were mentioning earlier about people, I think Steph talks about someone leaving a particular environment, you don't want to take the data. So geofencing, have we got the geofencing set up across those mobile devices? What different operating systems are working across those mobile devices? If you move on a bit, you can look at this thing called Air Marshal. The Meraki wireless access point has 4 radios. One is just dedicated to scanning for any particular threat. So again, when you increase mobility, you sometimes increase the threat. These are all inherent and built into the access point. So quite quickly, you can see here we've got rogue SSIDs, spoof SSIDs. So very quickly and seamlessly, you can identify any threat around your mobility and then block that instantly. And then finally, this bit about rolling out and deploying applications really with just a single click. So here I can see all of the applications running across our particular business. And then I think the question this morning from KPN was, how do we make it easy to roll out multiple different applications that aren't just Meraki? So if you look at something like Umbrella, in this instance, because we want to roll out cloud-based security, we can take Umbrella, and there it comes straight up. I can click and say I want to push that as an administrator onto every mobile device I've got within our campus or into our extended organization. That's how easy it is to start to roll out specific applications that could protect that business.
And that's cloud-based security. So on that basis, then that user, the security that we're defining for that user is going to either allow them or deny them access to specific applications.
Correct.
All done in the cloud, all done with a couple of clicks on top of the Meraki network.
That's how easy it is. So finally, I think we just go back to the presentation slides, and then we can move on to the IoT section.
So IoT is at the heart of everything good that can happen in the digital world now as well. You know, the ability to start to connect sensors, cameras, and different things to your environment is absolutely going to give you more intelligence and information to help you run your businesses better. When you put them on an IP network, however, as opposed to have a standalone network to run them, you start to worry about security. You start to say, oh, I don't know if I want to put a camera onto my IP network. Say somebody targets that camera and they infiltrate my network through that camera. Oh, that's a problem. Well, two things Cisco and Meraki can do to help you there. The first thing we do is we set each of those groups under their own logical segmented part of the network. So a camera can only ever talk to the camera server and cannot go anywhere else. The second thing we're starting to do now is that camera may be connected over power over Ethernet, or any sensor may use an Ethernet cable to run power to it. And now we're starting to do analytics, not just around network behavior, but around power consumption. The only reason that device would look to draw a different power consumption was either because it was failing, or if it was about to initiate an attack, it would look to draw more power. And therefore, being able to stop things like that just based on power consumption is really where the analytical part of our networking is moving to. That's how deep and rich some of the capabilities we can bring to the table are. But in terms of looking at perhaps other ways we can, you know, look at CCTV and things like that, Andy, why don't I hand back to you just to talk about what Meraki does?
Yeah, certainly. And Jeremy mentioned right at the beginning, you know, we crowbarred this picture of a camera in. It's like, what's the relevance of a camera? How does this just doesn't seem to fit? And also, when we were building the agenda for today, and we talked about IoT, it was like, how relevant is IoT and cameras and sensors to an SMB audience? And again, Jeremy covered that off as well. But here you've kind of got the Cisco store. The value of a Meraki camera, there is a few values. One is that the storage of the camera, the storage sits within the camera itself. So there isn't a complex video infrastructure that you need to put in that adds a load of cost, time, and money to the video side of the business. So it's there within the camera itself. The second thing is we've also got artificial intelligence that's built into some of our cameras. So the value of that is the camera becomes a sensor. Because we don't talk about a camera being a security camera within Meraki. That's not its true value. It's the camera as a sensor. And let me just show you a few things of this. So straight away, because it's pretty early in the morning, there's not a lot going on. Over 99% of video from CCTV is never viewed. All right, so you need to be able to access and get to key bits of information and analytics really quickly. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's just get some data up here, and I'm just going to put 1 p.m. Friday. Because I think that probably around lunchtime on Friday is a busy time for the camera to be used. There we go. So we've got a load of people in the store. we've got quite a lot of sad people in Cisco who want to buy branded Cisco goods, and there they all are shopping. First thing we can do here is the fact that we can do things like people count. We were talking about the analytics of the fact that we've got the heat map and the ability to take data from that earlier. Let's just get that back up. The joys of live demonstrations. So let me tell you, because I think that this thing here that it just said scheduled maintenance will occur has just occurred. All right, so let me tell you what actually happens. And if it comes back up, I can hopefully show you it. I was sitting, there we go. I was sitting there thinking, please do not let that maintenance check go on there. But if I just show you here, right, so this is when we've now got the analytics, it's now counting the people. And again, imagine the value of that. So you've not just got the fact that it's reading the phone data, it's now, and you can start, because it's an open platform, Meraki is open, has open APIs. So the partners in the room can start to develop applications around facial expressions or behavior. If someone's looking a bit suspicious, we can send an alert saying there is somebody that looks a bit suspicious around the red shirts that have just gone away, and can you get a shopkeeper to go and speak to them? So we've got all the analytics, we've got the ability to do people count. This is where the camera becomes a much more valuable piece, and it's also run from the same platform. So at that point, and now we've got this spinning wheel of doom, we can bring up the closing slide, please.
Thank you. So what we've tried to show you over this last kind of 45 minutes or so is software is at the heart of everything we're trying to do as a networking business now. But it's not about building software to do one thing. It's about building software to do multiple things. And using software that allows us to do multiple things allows us to build basically a platform-based approach for you. And that platform-based approach, we believe, is ultimately the thing that's going to help accelerate digital capabilities in your business. Most CIOs I speak to today are trying to do one of two things. They're either looking to save money. They have 2020 initiatives, I need to save 10% by 2020 or something like that. Or they're looking to drive digital transformation in their business. Very few believe they can do both at the same time. For our smaller customers and small businesses, it's critical that you can drive digital transformation in your business while at the same time control cost. The only way you're truly going to do that is by investing in networking technology that does more than one thing, that doesn't just provide connectivity, that does much more than that. And that's why we fundamentally believe that Cisco is working hard to make sure that we are the partner of choice to work with you to help you on that digital journey.